Shivaya, Om Namah 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 Shivaya. I bow to the Lord Shiva. I bow to all aspects of God, among which you are included. You don't seem to be that, because you are a part of the cosmic dream. But in your essence, that is what you are. I would like to read to you a very interesting story. It's one that our gurus told, and it's not a part of tradition, but it's a very, as I said, enlightening in several ways. The Master told this little known story of the meeting between Adi Swami Shankaracharya and Babaji, whom Shankaracharya eventually accepted as his guru. Babaji was living in a home in Benares when Shankaracharya visited that city. Shankara was at that time a famous astrologer. Babaji's manservant went therefore to see him. He received from Shankara the shocking news that that very night it was his destiny to die. In fear and trembling on his return, he approached Babaji with the news. "Go back," said Babaji, "and say to him that you will not die tonight." The servant carried this reply back to Swami Shankara, who affirmed, "This karma is so fixed that should you survive it, I shall go to your master and ask him to accept me as his disciple." That night a terrible thunderstorm lashed the city. Lightning struck everywhere. It felled great trees all around the house where Babaji lived. The great master stretched himself out over the servant's body to protect him. When morning came, the servant was still alive. He then went and presented himself to Shankara. The Swami was amazed. Realizing that he had encountered a power much greater than his own, he went to Babaji and took initiation into Kriya Yoga. This amazing story, because it was told by our line of gurus, I believe it, but it's very unusual. And it tells something also that is very important, that don't take too much to heart the advice of astrologers and so-called soothsayers. Because you, with your willpower too, can change everything, and God's blessings can change everything. When my guru was a boy, well, you have to be born sometime, and he was born at such a time when, according to this family astrologer, he would be married 3 times, being twice a widower. And in fact, there were twice that his father tried to get him married, but he just refused. The 3rd time, they tried to spring it on him by surprise, so he couldn't get out of it. And my guru said, look, to the relatives, they'd already assembled for the feast, and the girl was supposed to be introduced. And my guru said to them, the only reason you're disappointed is that you think you aren't going to get a feast. Well, I think my cousin will be willing to marry her. She was a very beautiful girl, and the cousin was, of course, very happy to meet her and to marry her. And so the wedding went on, but Master refused that astrologically predicted thing, and you can. The power of will is supreme over everything. You know, there's a woman in Germany who's an astrologer, and she says from my horoscope, this is judging from the Western side, she says, I just don't know how we can stand the weight of it. There's so many cross-purpose things. It's a very heavy horoscope. And I remember saying to a woman one time years ago, we were talking about people's hardships. And I said, it's strange, I don't seem to have any hardships. She said, my God, no hardships. And she listed the number that I had had during the 1 year that she had known me, including somebody trying to take away all our property by foreclosing on it, our temple burning down. Several major things had happened that she was calling catastrophes. And I said, oh, yeah, I guess so. But it didn't matter. It depends always on your reaction. When that temple burned down, it was quite a major thing to lose. Actually, it turned out to be a very good thing because it brought all the community together again to rebuild it. And in that affirmation of doing something together, they became a well-knit community. Every tragedy that we've gone through has always had that result, that people are stronger than ever in their faith and desire to cooperate and willingness to live for God alone. But anyway, the day of that temple burning down, I remember going into a local shop, and the shopkeeper, I was singing, and the shopkeeper said in astonishment, she said, "You're singing?" I said, "Well, why not? I lost the temple, I haven't lost my voice." And she said, "Oh, goodness, when my house burned down, 6 months weeping." And I thought, why waste 6 months? I remember another occasion we were going skiing. I used to love to ski. I can't do it anymore because I have artificial hips, and it just isn't the time of one's life, for me at least, when one can do such things. But we went in the car that I had. We reached the snow line, and I hadn't noticed that the tires were bald. There was no tread on them. And as we reached the snow line, I put my foot on the brake in order to stop the car and put on chains, and the car just took off over the snow and rammed head on into a bus and totaled the car. The bus, you couldn't see a scratch on it. They're made of tough stuff, I guess. But anyway, the car was completely totaled, and all of us just decided to get on the bus and go to the nearest town so we could go skiing. So as we were getting into the bus, this woman said to me, "Oh, what a pity, you've totaled your car." And I sort of was surprised because I knew it was a fact, but I hadn't thought of it as a pity. I mean, it's how you to see things is one way, to interpret them is what makes it either getting catches you in delusion. Your reactions are what are the wrong thing. You've got to watch for the right reactions. But I hadn't reacted. I just saw that the car had been totaled. When she said, "What a pity," I sort of was taken aback in a moment. I said, "Well, I would feel well after a week. Why should I waste a whole week? I feel fine now." So we had a great skiing outing, and everything worked out in time. Yes, the car was totaled, but life goes on. Don't let things beat you down. Some people, I remember this woman in Italy, and we were staying at somebody's house in Firenze, in Florence. And when I came down to breakfast, this woman was there, and I asked her, "How did she sleep?" "I didn't sleep well." I was talking French because I couldn't speak Italian at that time. Anyway, I said it in English. She said, "I didn't sleep well." "Why didn't I sleep well? Why is it that people don't sometimes sleep well?" And she went on in this great tragedy. My God, what does it really matter? I mean, I assume that after a few hours, you'll either wake up or take a nap and then wake up. Well, I get all excited, but some people just, everything they do is just either wonderful, wonderful, or tragic, tragic. Don't let your emotions get into the picture. You may think, "Oh, but then life will have no fun." They like the excitement of emotion. Trouble is that every up emotion will have a down emotion. And as every time you go up, you're going to have to come crashing down, and life will go bumping along that way. It's much better to be calm, to just watch everything and not be involved. And does that make you apathetic? That is the usual challenge that people throw back to this advice. They say, well, if I don't get excited, if I don't get up, then I'll just become indifferent to life. The wonderful thing is that that is not true. You find that there's a certain joy that develops when you don't allow yourself to be bouncing up and down there was a cartoon during the Second World War. They had just invented jeeps, and jeeps could travel over very rough terrain. And so they showed this jeep as if it was its nature to travel over rough terrain. It was going on a freeway, but about 10 feet off the ground. Many people think that's just my nature. It's not your nature. When you can just not get that excited, just think, well, a week later it won't be this way. And I remember there was a brother disciple of mine who was very sort of heavy and down, and everything sort of brought him down. Or I remember him coming into my room one time and sitting on the bed and just, and it was as if he had come in with a dark cloud around him. And I said to him one day, cheer up, it won't last more than another 40 years. I thought I was being positive because after all, 40 years still has an end to it. And what I meant was, we aren't going to live all that long, so why get that excited? But I'm afraid that put him into a much deeper mood. I was not talking on his level. But the truth is that I do feel that way, that whenever I go, I won't live forever. And I've had this all my life, that it doesn't much matter. I remember one time I was in college. I've told this story in my book, The Path, but I was studying for an exam. It was in the evening, around 9 o'clock, and I heard these footsteps come creeping across the dead leaves, and then a foot stepping on the ledge, a hand grasping the little sort of a grill outside the window, and it was 9 o'clock and the time for the library to close, so I imagine it was one of my friends coming over to startle me or frighten me. So to show him I'd heard him, I went to the window. I heard these footsteps dash off into the dark. So I thought he'd come in the front door and we'd have a good laugh. Nobody came, and I thought, well, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's somebody who wants to shoot me. That's sort of idle thought people can have. And a few minutes later, again, these trying to be softer than ever, creeping over the dead leaves, and this foot on the ledge outside and the hand grasping the grill. And I thought, my friends aren't this persistent at anything. So I went to the window to show him, and again he ran away. And I began to get curious. I thought, well, gosh, maybe it is somebody here to shoot at me. And the only way I'll ever find out is to let him shoot. I just didn't care. I mean, death and life didn't mean anything to me. And so I decided if he came back, I would not do anything. So I just went on studying, and I heard the same sounds, hand over the grill. All of a sudden, a loud shot in a room that really reverberated. And then the sound died down. I heard a car dash off into the distance, and the clock on my mantle, on my dresser, began ticking again. And I sat back and I had such a good laugh. I thought that it's the sort of thing that can't happen. But at least I was glad that I wasn't afraid. It's just another experience. I realized later that it was a holiday which we have in America called Halloween. And people try to scare one another on Halloween. It was a blank cartridge, but he had hoped to get a good fear out of me. But I just thought it was a great lark. I went to the window and could see no sign of a bullet hole. I was very disappointed. Well, maybe I was a bit stupid. Maybe I didn't want to face that exam the next day. I don't know. But the thing is that if you can really train your mind to think that nothing that's happening right now can last. Sickness can't last. Wellness can't last. Everything changes. Panta he, as the Greek saying was, all is flux. So if you can live that way and just live in the present, yes, certainly my horoscope has given me a lot of tests in my life. They've made me stronger. I don't see them as tests. They're just things you go through. We all go through them. Why get excited? Keep an even mind. And in fact, I've been able to do a great deal, which I could not have done if I had been a weakling or if I had let every little thing throw me. Just be in yourself. And if you are that, you will find that astrological predictions and people telling you this is going to happen, don't live quaking in fear. 9 times out of 10, they don't happen anyway. And when they do, it's sort of like that book, Alice Through the Looking Glass, where I think it's the White Queen that's saying, oh, 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 and Alice says, what is it? The looking glass, everything happens backwards. And so the Queen says, I'm going to prick myself with a pin, with a needle. And then she's calm, and Alice said, well, what happened that you're calm? Oh, I pricked myself. You see, these things that we dread because we magnify them, when they happen, they're not all that great. You survive, you go on, and your will can accomplish a great deal. Just say that I will to be happy. Don't think that happiness is just a sort of a pleasant little sentiment. It's something that you can determine to be happy. But again, to come back to this other thing, which I've also brought out in these talks, there is a certain line of masters, and of these, Shankaracharya was one, perhaps Buddha, but my guru never said that. A few masters come back to this world again and again to keep humanity going. If it weren't for them, this world perhaps would cease to exist. You know, when people say that those yogis in the Himalayas are just having wasted lives, are not doing anything for anybody, the truth is they may be doing a lot more than many other people. It is said that one moon gives more light than all the stars. And one great master, like my master walking up and down in front of those bars, he, I'm sure, changed the lives of many people. One master emanates a vibration which affects the whole planet. Babaji said to Sri Yukteswar that vibrations of people in the West come to me flood-like, potential saints awaiting awakening in America and Europe and other countries. That's why he sent my guru to Sri Yukteswar for training. And my guru went there not because he wanted to go to America. It was his whole line of gurus that had ordained that someone go from India, because this is now the time when the best that is in the West and the best that is in the East should be brought together. At Master's final banquet speech, he said, let us take the best of each nation and unite them. In that way, we will be able to create a better world. And so I wrote this song, I Live Without Fear. It came to me, very interestingly, after someone who was a self-styled enemy. I didn't feel that way toward him, but he spent an hour trying to tell me how absolutely wasted my life was, and I wasn't going to answer him, but it did hurt. I'm sad when people betray me, and he had been a friend. But then, after that, this song came to me, and it is my answer to that. I live without fear. Live in God, and no fear can touch you. Joy to you.
Though green summer fade and winter draw near, my Lord, in your presence I live without fear. Through tempest, through snows, through turbulent tide, the touch of your hand is my strength and my guide. I ask for no riches that death can singing must end.